Wait, are you are you gonna count me in? Whatever. I'm just gonna go for it. Welcome to the Queen's Lead podcast. I'm your host, Amy Singleton, and as a child of the 80s, I'd love to say queens rule, but they don't. Queens lead. Being a queen means you are worthy to be a leader of people. The guests on our show do exactly that. They are leading the way in their businesses, families, and communities. And they're taking their rightful place in the spotlight, leading and inspiring the developing queens in all of us. Welcome to the Queen's Lead podcast.
Now here's your host, Amy Singleton, the queen of realness, leading conversations about business, life, and the real shit you want to know.
Welcome everybody back to another episode of the Queen's Lead podcast. Today we are very, very blessed to be joined by LuAnn Nigara from New Jersey. LuAnn is an absolute powerhouse in the interior design and window treatment world and in the marketing and cohesion of those businesses. She is teaching people all over the globe to make their businesses more profitable and more sustainable. Welcome, LuAnn.
Hi, thanks so much for having me on the show, Amy. I appreciate it.
Absolutely. Thank you so much for being my guest. So we like to dig right into taking it all the way back to little girl LuAnn. Can you tell us about what was she all about and what was she great at and what did she dream of?
Oh my goodness. Okay. So I would say, first of all, little girl LuAnn was characterized by being raised and socialized with mostly boys. So there was a group of definitely 6 of us cousins and often 11 of us that were
Wow.
together all the time. Our mothers were sisters and sister-in-laws. And of the group, when we were 11, only 3 were girls. When we were
Wow.
6, only 2 were girls. And so what happens is, like in reflection, there's a lot of socialization that happens when you're with boys all the time. And I
Oh,
was
yeah.
I was the oldest when we were 6, and I was the second oldest when we were 11. And I'm only behind by 6 months. So it wasn't like it was like the same age. And so what happens is objectively, it's just different. You process things differently. It's like hit them and move. Keep going. Keep it going.
Yeah.
Oh, that hurts. Get up. Oh, your feelings are
Right.
hurt. Stop. You know what I'm saying? And so
Yeah.
I really know that has really impacted my outlook on life. It's like I say over on my podcast, A Well-Designed Business, put your big girl panties on. Like, it's keep it rolling here, right?
That's
The
right.
other really influential thing of my childhood was that my mom and my aunt were, you're talking about the early 70s. I'm 10 years old. My mom and my aunt are very much involved in visualization, in manifestation, in meditation.
Wow.
And
Really?
yes, and they
Wow.
teach it to us. Like when we get together, it's like running around playing sports all day long, get to have dinner, have ice cream at night with Uncle Warren, and then everybody get baths and everybody lay in their pajamas somewhere in the living room or dining room. And my Aunt Honey is going to lead us through guided meditations. And it's
No
all about,
way.
yes, yes,
That's so forward thinking. Like, I
yes.
mean, even on the coasts in the 70s,
Yeah.
that's so
Oh,
forward
yeah. No,
thinking.
she was, yeah,
Yeah.
they were at the forefront of it. And, she did this as a career she was an entrepreneur, and she would have seminars on the weekends, and adults would sign up to do this. And she would teach adults meditation and visualization and memory,
Wow.
pegs and all of these things. And so the 2 of them did this with us. And so it's a really powerful 1-2 punch to be able
Hmm.
to have taught at a young age to visualize what you want and to understand that you are in a large part in charge of your own destiny, but then
Yeah.
also to have this like built-in, I don't want to call it thick skin, but just like get up and keep it going. You know what I'm
Yeah.
saying?
Yeah.
So, it's just
Wow.
interesting childhood. It was fun. We had a lot of
What
fun.
an what an incredible childhood. I was talking to someone the other day we were just talking about the different experiences that we all bring. I guess we all get it in our head like that everyone's childhood was just like ours, and like some people talked about money, some people never talked about money,
Yes.
some people prayed or meditated, some people never even, I mean, I hadn't even heard of it probably until the last 10 years. And here you were as a
Yes.
child getting that. Um, but I also heard you say your aunt was an entrepreneur. And
Mhm.
that's usually like, so that's my next question is, other than your aunt, was there anyone else in your family that was an
Oh,
entrepreneur that you had that example in front of you?
oh, my mom and dad, they always had their own
Really?
business. They had a dozen of them
Okay.
over my lifetime. But,
Wow.
they had a taxi business at one point. They had a pizza parlor at one point. They had a luncheonette at one point. They had the mainstay business was a seasonal business. So that business was a food and concession stand, food and novelty stand at a summer resort. And so it was like
Okay.
a family, almost like when you think back to like Dirty Dancing with the Catskills, where like families went to,
Mm,
but it wasn't that. It
yes.
wasn't the
Yeah.
Catskills, right? But it was a family resort. It had a lake and it had a pool and it had tennis courts and picnic groves. And but it was for regular people. It wasn't like a wealthy location. Like you could pay,
Mhm.
$2 for the day to get in, or you could get a season pass for $80 or whatever. And but they ran the food and like the suntan lotion stand and the swim tube stand. And but that was every year from Memorial Day to Labor Day. So from
Mhm.
Labor Day to Memorial Day, they were constantly, okay, what are we going to do this year? Okay, we'll run a taxi business. Okay, well, we're going to lease that luncheonette for 8 months, or we're going to this. And they were hard workers and always also in charge of their destiny. It was like
Yeah.
whatever they set out their day, they set out their week. This is how we're going to make money. This is how we're going to provide. We were not wealthy. We were literally under, under middle class, but
Mm,
it didn't feel like it
yeah.
because there was no sitting around saying we don't have. It was always let's move and create.
That's
So,
right.
it just
Yeah.
felt all normal.
Oh my gosh. Yeah. And what it could, because it doesn't seem like a struggle because you're in charge of it, right? Like you're
Yes,
the one leading it
that's the
and
point.
you're the one making the thing happen, right?
Yeah.
But I've heard so many children of entrepreneurs come out and say, that's the reason I knew I didn't want to be an entrepreneur.
Yeah, I think that
So
a
did
part
you jump right
attracted
in?
me. Oh yeah, that's what
Beginning?
attracted me to it is like I think the combination of the all the meditation training and the visualization and the manifestation training, it was like, oh no, what am I going to create here? What am I going to do? And
Yeah.
where's that opportunity to have that happen? And then I met my future husband, and he was also ridiculously entrepreneurial. His father also had his own business for many years, and by the time I met my husband, he was on his third business. And so
Oh, wow.
Window Works was the fourth one. And that was the one, that we like ended up really blowing up and making it a success and being able to raise our family and, all the things on. Yeah.
Wow. So what was your first foray into, I mean, when you met your husband, were you doing anything before that for yourself or was it all like family stuff?
Yeah, so I'm the person that like first of all I started working in my mother's business in the at the lake where that seasonal business was. I mean, I'll never forget. I'm 8 years old. The place is mobbed. They sell hot dogs, hamburgers, french fries, sodas, cheesesteaks, okay? The place is mobbed. The lines are literally 60, 70 people in line to get a hot dog and a drink and so forth. And I'm walking by and she just looks at me. She's like, "Come do sodas." And I literally am just sitting there with 2 cups, putting ice, putting them under the soda machine, making the sodas, putting them on the side so the older girls could just get them. And that was it for me. Then every day I wanted to work. And she's like, "You're 8."
Yeah.
You're 8. Like, we can't really like on Monday when the place is
Yeah.
empty. But it was like, no, you only need 1 soda. I'll make 1 soda. By the time I was 13 and 14, I was actively working in the
Yeah.
business. And by the time I was 16, she had a summer right after the summer started where she got a blood clot and she couldn't be on her feet. And then I ran it for the 6 weeks that was remaining of the season, with her
Wow.
oversight from home. But I was 14 that summer. I was going into ninth grade and I would be 14 in October. And so, it just so I do that. Now, it becomes high school. I have a car and, it's winter And where do I work? Everywhere under the sun. I work at Burger King. I work at Two Guys. I eventually end up in fitness and, this is like Jane Fonda era where you're doing
Yes.
jazzercise with leg warmers on and leotards. And I end up at health clubs doing, 8 or 10 fitness classes a day. And that's how I ended up meeting my husband, because when I came up North Jersey to go to college, I started college, not for me, couldn't do it, didn't do it, but I got a job at his health club. And
Oh,
that's where
nice.
I met him. And then
I
after a
love it.
year, I was like, okay, I need to make some real coin here. This is like fun and games. And so he's like, well,
Yeah.
I just started this window treatment company 6 months ago. Want to work there? I'm like, what's a window treatment?
Well, I guess you found out.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
You found out
So,
real quick.
yeah, I was
So,
21 years old. So it wasn't enough time for
gosh,
me to have owned a business at that point, but I was
right.
always working. That's all I can tell you.
Hmm. Wow. And so when you met your husband, you guys tell me about that first business that you guys started and grew.
Yeah, well, I had left the health club and I was working in New York City because my whole life I was supposed to work in New York City. But of course,
Mhm.
now I'm 20 years old and I don't have a college degree. I don't have any skills. All I've ever done is like food service and, exercise, but I still want this job in New York City. So
Yeah.
I go to a temp agency or whatever. I talk my way into a job at a law firm answering
Wow.
phones. Yeah, like it was ridiculous. And I'll never forget, there were 365 lines coming into that law firm.
Oh my
And
word.
everyone had a three-number extension. And you would answer the phone and you'd go, Wendell's Marks, Davies and Ives, Wendell's Marks, Davies and Ives. And they would say, I want to speak to, Joe Blow, please. And you had to know Joe Blow's 3-digit extension. And if
Wow.
you sent a call to the wrong extension, that lawyer would call you up. I just got Joe's, blah, blah, blah. And I'd be like,
Yeah, I
I'm
bet.
sorry. There's people that need a cure for cancer. This is your problem today,
That's
right? Like I
right.
was
Yeah.
not cut out for corporate, right? But I do this and I'm there. It takes me about 4 weeks to learn this phone system. And I didn't know this would happen. But every day it was a complete challenge to learn this phone system because there's like 16 lines coming in. There's 365 extensions. You got to hit them all. And now you're getting callback lines. You send it, no one answer, it's coming back. And it takes about 4 weeks to manage this, where I'm like a top and I'm on it. It was a day later, I was bored out of my mind. I was like, "Oh, so wait, we just do this forever now?" I'm like, "That's it?"
Yeah.
I'm like,
Yeah.
"No."
That's so
And
funny.
no shade on anybody that does it. It just I wasn't built
Right?
for it. You know what
You
I'm
are an
saying?
entrepreneur. Once you
Yes.
figure something out, you're like, all right, I'm bored. What's next?
That's it. That's it.
And that's why we all need an operator in our
That's
life,
right.
right?
Like you're the visionary, you need the integrator.
That's
Exactly.
right.
Even
That's
in
right.
that role, Amy, you're so right. Even if I had an operations person next to me, they'd be like, okay, you mastered this, but there's more to
Right.
do here. But,
Yeah.
my 20-year-old brain couldn't see anything further. So I now am one night saying to him, I'm bored out of my mind. I got to back into sales. That's where I'm happy. When I'm selling, I'm happy. And he's like, well, I opened this company 6 months ago. I haven't really told you a lot about it, but if you want to come sell blinds for me. And
Yeah.
I was supposed to go sell blinds for him until I got another job. But
Yeah.
I came in and I was good at it and I liked it and I made good money. And like I got commissions and I got a car and I got all the
Yeah.
things. Then finally his best friend said to him about 2 years later, he goes, you're going to have to marry her, I think. He said, because you're not going to be able to afford her because I was making too much in commissions. He's like, the business
That's
won't
right.
support this much commissions.
That's
So,
right.
so it was good. And then we just like, it was exactly, we both have different skill sets. We both have he is the operator. He's the integrator
Yeah.
personality. And
I
so
got one of those. Thank God
yes,
for them.
yes. And so he always had the business and the systems nailed down. And, I'm like a shark in the water. Just point me in the direction, tell me what I have to bring home and I will go get it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And we've had a great time. It's 42 years now that the business is open and
Wow.
running. And we sold it 2 years ago to our son-in-law and our daughter, and a couple of other the employees that were very integral and important to our company ended up buying into
Yeah.
it. And our cousin was our partner all along, and he remained a partner. And it was a heck of a ride. That's all I can tell you. It was an absolute blast to build that business.
That's incredible. And so now you have two podcasts. And one of those is specifically for people in the window treatment space, right?
Yes, 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 yes. So
Tell
I
me
have
about that first.
Yeah, so Window Treatments for Profit. So Window Treatments for Profit comes out every Monday, and what it does is it talks about all of the facets of running a window treatment business that really just, make you crazy, right? It's like profit margins and working with interior design professionals, understanding team management, team leading. What it is it's a business podcast. You can take the word
Mhm.
window treatment out and put, cupcake maker in it. It's the
Yeah.
same thing. But
Mhm.
every business does have its certain little nudgy things that are
Mhm.
unique to that business. And it's helpful when you, as a business owner, you can go listen to a business podcast, but if that business podcast is also giving specific to your industry advice,
Mhm.
it just makes it feel a nudge more practical for you and
Yeah.
actionable. So that's what
Mhm.
we do over on Window Treatments for Profit. We cover all the different aspects of the challenges that a window treatment professional faces.
Yeah. And then your other podcast, A Well-Designed Business, which I love the play on words of like the design
Yeah.
space and your business. Tell me more about that one.
Yeah, so Well Designed Business was the first one I started 8 years ago. By the time this airs, we will have hit our 1000th episode.
Wow.
Yeah, it's been a heck of a ride. And that one niches into the same thing, but for interior design professionals, helping and teaching interior design professionals to run profitable businesses. It's an interesting, the thing that's similar to these two business models and all business models is, as I said, cash flow, profitability, your balance sheet, your P&L sheet, in team management, hiring, all of it is the same. But what's
Mhm.
very different with interior designers that I've learned, Amy, is I don't think I've ever met an interior designer that's an interior designer by accident. And
Mm.
almost every window treatment professional I've met is a window treatment person by accident. It's like, well, like me,
Really?
I went to work for my husband, found out I was good
Mhm.
at it. Next thing you know, you got the golden handcuffs, you're making a big business. Let's keep going, right? But
Yeah.
interior designers are a very special, rare entrepreneur. They are
Mm.
insanely passionate about what they do for their clients. I think a
Mhm.
lot of us can get to a point of passion for our clients that we care for them. You build websites, you do SEO for your clients, like you
Yeah.
want the best for them. But like
Mhm.
I didn't grow up saying, "Oh, I want to sell blinds when I get older." Like, you know what I mean?
Right. Yeah.
I want to build
Right.
websites when I get older. No, right?
Right.
Like,
Yeah.
right. But designers, whether they start in the career at 20 or they come to it at 40 or 60, and so what happens, they get clouded by that. The
Mm.
passion is there, and for most of them, there's a certain level of it that is easy in the sense of the creativity because
Mhm.
they come to it so earnestly that their disconnect is understanding the high value that it brings and
Yeah.
understanding that you must charge for this just because it feels easy and effortless and joyful to you.
Yes.
The rest of us don't know what size sofa to put in. The rest of us don't know
Oh,
how to coordinate the stone and the tile and the, things. And it's actually way more complex than picking a
yes.
sofa and tile. That's the truth of it.
100%.
Yeah.
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 Yeah. Talk a little bit more about that because that's something I hear constantly, whether on the podcast or in networking, is that we all in our specific industry, for the most part, have the curse of knowledge, right?
Yes.
And it's so hard for us to position ourselves in that value, stream when everything that comes so easy to us, like, oh, well, I'll just give you that. And then you get people, can I pick your brain? Can you
Yes.
tell me this? Can I do that? And it's so, can you speak a little bit more to that and maybe the psychology behind that with all of
Yeah.
your
Yeah.
meditative background? I'm sure you deal a lot
Yeah.
in psychology with
Yeah.
your people.
Yeah, I mean, I think what it is that whatever helps you as the individual get to the clarity on your value, right? It's everybody's different. You're going to come to it differently. For me, I always consider, what if I took my service away from you? So I offer chairman of the board coaching, right? I only take 5 a year. You could be in any industry. I don't, most of them happen to be designers and window treatment professionals, but business is business. It doesn't matter to me. I'm going to work with you on the principles, right? But the thing is, when I explain the price tag for that in conjunction with the hours I'm going to give you, I'm very clear. If you don't understand the value of it, it's okay. It's not for you, right? And that's the thing. And so I'm consistently trying to help the designers understand that 90% of the people on the planet cannot create the beauty, the symmetry, the peace of mind that happens when a room, a home, of space is well designed. People can pick out things. I can pick a pretty sofa and a pretty lamp, but it doesn't mean that together, when a room is well designed, like literally, truly well designed, it's like a song, right? Like it's literally it's a level up than I put together a pretty room from Pinterest. It is different. And for me, I imagine, well, you don't have to have my services. Can you do it without me? Great. And I have to say, you have to come to what it is that will motivate you to recognize your value and be okay with putting a price tag on it, and then be okay if when somebody says it's not worth it, or it's too much money, or that's expensive, that's their evaluation of it.
That's right.
That's their like, okay, great. But guess what? I know that when I work with somebody and I charge you 5 figures, you'll turn it into 6 or 7 figures. So guess what? I think it's worth it. You don't have to have it.
That's right. Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, 100%. And I think it also goes into, when people are first starting out, I'm sure when you first started out, you were like, who needs blinds? Anybody need blinds? You need mini blinds, big blinds, sliding blinds. What kind of blinds do you need? Right. And then you get to this point where you're like, no, we sell custom 3-inch wood blinds, and you find like your niche and the person that is ideal for you. And once you're sitting, I don't want to say across, when you're sitting next to that person that is the ideal person, then they get it. Then they see the value. Then you can stand in confidence with offering what you're going to offer, because you have the same values, just as a person, outside of what the offer necessarily is.
You're so dead on, Amy. Great way to tie that in a bow. Good for you. Yeah. Yeah.
No, it's a hard place to get to, right?
Yes.
Like a lot of people, when they're first starting out in business, you want to work with anybody and everybody. And when you finally get to that comfort level of, no, this is who we work with, this is who we can really help.
That's
and then
what
once
it is.
you can really help that person, it doesn't matter what the price is, because it's good. Like you said, you're going to get 5 or 6 or 7 figures from my 5. So what's the difference? Money in, money out. We want to see more money out.
That's exactly
on the other side of it.
That's right. Right. Exactly. 100%.
So tell me more about the coaching that you do. You only take 5 clients a year.
Right. 5 clients a year, because it's, pretty one-on-one, right?
Yeah.
When I first started, I had really no vision that I would be coaching. And what happened was, about a year and a half into the podcast, I kept getting the requests and the emails, would you coach? Yeah. And what happened was, once you get about the 5th or 6th one, you're just like, oh, hey, sweetie, there's a thing.
The universe is trying to tell you something, right?
It's like, why do you keep saying no? Right. And so in the very beginning, I did do, like a block of, 5 hours, or a block of, 6 sessions, or whatever it was. But for me, I'm interested in meaningful change. I'm interested in meaningful growth. I'm interested in the aha that an entrepreneur can make when they haven't had the benefit of sitting side by side with a seasoned entrepreneur. Because you and I, we talked about that entrepreneurial spirit. It's in you. It's in you. That doesn't mean you know what to do with it. Like, I had the advantage of sitting next to my husband, an integrator and operator, for all those years. And so, combining what was my talents with what I've learned by working side by side, it's I have tremendous compassion for the person that I would have been without that person next to me. So for
Yeah.
me, having had that hindsight and those hard lessons and the clarity on those lessons, now I speak their language. I know, we want to get going. We could do a million things. Let's figure them all out.
That's
It's going to
right.
be amazing.
Yeah.
But it's like, okay,
Yeah.
that's sweet. Come on back here. Let's plot them
Yeah.
all out. Let's do the P&L on each one. Will it work? Will it not work? And then once we get a yes, when the numbers say yes, well, then yeah, I'm going to run right beside you and really
Yeah.
help you create that. But the thing is, what I found with the one-on-ones, 5 hours, 6 hours, it wasn't meaningful enough to actually create a change. Well, the first time that I had a particular someone, purchased a group of like 6 hours, I never forget. It was probably about my 5th or 6th time that I was coaching somebody. And this person, we were at our 5th of 6 meetings. And in that meeting, I was like, I am repeating the same thing that was clear to me was a gap on meeting 1. And no shade on that person. That person was having a hard time understanding and seeing their role in this obstacle. But I
Yeah.
said to myself 2 things. Number 1, okay, so we're going to end. We're going to have one more meeting and we're still going to have no movement. And then this person's going to walk away and go, that was useless. And
Yeah.
number 2, I said, you got to do a better job of figuring out who you're going to work with, because
Mhm.
I learned, like I call them on my podcast, I don't like to work with yeah, but girls. Like, don't tell me, oh, yeah, that's such a great thing, but it won't work for my
Yeah.
business. Oh, okay, sweetie, you have the unicorn business. That's awesome.
That's right.
So,
That's right.
so with that clarity, I recognize that I really enjoy that year-long journey with somebody.
Mhm.
And yeah, maybe it does take 5 times for a particular light bulb to go off, but we're putting
Mhm.
lights in other rooms on along the
Yeah.
way because we're meeting so often. And we'll get to that light bulb. It'll be fine. You know what I'm
Yeah.
saying?
Right. Yeah. It's a longer journey
Yeah.
than a 5 or 6 week thing if you're really trying to turn someone's business around, or,
Yeah.
or restructure things. What's typically the first thing you have to overcome with a business owner?
Oh, I'm going to tell you right off the bat. 90% of business owners skip establishing their mission, vision, and values. Oh, I'll get to that later.
Mhm.
Oh, okay, that's awesome. So what do we make
Yeah.
decisions based on? Like, to me, it's this is not a direct analogy, but it sort of is a pretty good one. It's like you have a child, you give birth to a child, and you're like, no, I'll name them next week or next month or in 5 years. So what do we do? Just like
Right.
hey you, like,
Yeah.
and when the kid is 5 and the kid doesn't turn around and listen, answer when you say hey you, it's because the kid doesn't know his
Mm.
name. Kid doesn't know
Wow.
because you haven't said you will be called Billy. You,
That's
and when
right.
I say Billy, you'll turn around, right? And it's the
Yeah.
same thing with a business. If you do not get clarity on what your mission and your vision and your values are, how can you or anyone guide you into the big decisions on what to do with your business? Should we advertise to
Mm.
these people? I don't know. What's our mission? Who's our target market? Should we,
Yeah.
hire 3 people? I don't know. What's your vision? You want a big company, a little company? Like, the whole thing is like a
Mhm.
pot of spaghetti with absolutely no clarity. So
Yeah.
that is the number one thing that people skip, and it is the
Mhm.
most critical step for clarity.
Yeah. Yeah. Where are we going? Like, we're
Yeah.
all in the car,
What's
but
the
what
point?
direction are we heading, right? What are we doing this for, you know?
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
And making them measurable even,
Yeah.
like, to have I see so many vision mission statements that are like, we want to impact the city.
Yeah.
How many
Great.
people in the
Good
city?
for
By
you.
what
You and
time? Like,
90,000
what?
other people.
Right, exactly. Yeah. So getting
How do
really
you want
clear
to
on that.
impact that city? What are you going to
Right.
do to show up and impact that city? What methods will
That's
you
right.
use? What is your, and what do you want to impact in the city? The people, the buildings, the trees, the animals?
That's right.
Like, what?
Yeah. Yeah. Get more specific.
Yeah.
100%.
Yeah. Yeah.
100%. So, and then you have one more thing I want to talk about, your Power Talk Friday. Tell me about that.
Okay. So Power Talk Friday, first of all, I call the Friday shows on a Well-Designed Business Power Talk Friday. And they are typically interviews with people outside the industry. So you will be joining me on a Power Talk Friday to talk about your superpowers. It's the consultants that can support the designers and the window treatment professionals in their businesses, whether it's website building and SEO and the like. But then what happens is I do events called the Power Talk Friday Tour, where this year in 2024, we were in Dallas in April, we'll be in New Jersey in June, Las Vegas in August 2nd, and then High Point, North Carolina in October. And for each location, we've got 4 or 5 Power Talk Friday experts. So one might be a process guru, one might be a copywriter, one might be a CPA, one might be whatever. And the events are limited to a maximum of 25 people, and we do business training, business consulting, business coaching, from 8:30 in the morning till 5:30. So 8:30 to 12:30 is roundtable discussion based on the different superpowers of the different experts I have. So as a group, it's almost like a podcast with 25 people in the room, and you're facilitating the conversation. And what happens is everybody that signs up for the Power Talk Friday, they do a pre-Q&A. And if I'm looking at 20 people as my attendees, and 80% of them are seasoned professionals, and they know how to do their online bookkeeping, they know how to do their financials, but they want that next level, like, how do I project, or how do I know if I can afford a studio? Then that conversation gets tweaked. If I have 25 people and 20 of them are in business a minute and a half, well, we're going to talk about, do you know what to do with your QuickBooks every month? Do you know how to read the reports? Do you know how to be a partner with your CPA, right? So it's very tailored to the group. And then after lunch, from 1:30 to 5:30, it's small roundtables. So if I've got 6 experts and 24 people, it's 3 people and 1 expert for 30 minutes of conversation about that expertise, and then switch, and then switch, and then switch. And then we break for an hour and a half. We come back, we have dinner at 7:00. We have, cocktail hour, we have food. The sponsors that are sponsoring it come. And we just kind of download all the information from the day,
Yeah. So it's almost like a little temporary mastermind group quarterly, and it's always someone different coming, depending on like who and where it is. I love that.
Sorry.
No worries.
You're going to have to edit, right? But the more you try and talk, the more it just, that's happened to me one time in my show in 8 years. Now it happens on your show, right?
Wow.
I'm sorry.
No worries.
Yeah, I mean, it really is that small group where when you go to a bigger conference, I don't care if it's 50 or 100 people, 300, 1,000 people, when somebody's talking about, SEO, for example, use your expertise. If you're up on stage and they're like, on my website, I have this tab, and you are just on stage, you're like, sweetie, what are you doing? You're killing me. Here. You're killing me. Like, there's 1,000 people in the room,
right?
But that's the point. There needs to be that space where somebody can say, on my website, look at this tab.
Absolutely.
Is this a crazy dumb tab? Should I have a different thing here? Or what do you think of my pop-up? Is it effective? Or, blah, blah, blah. And you walk away with that information. And because every Power Talk Friday stop has different experts, I've got people that sign up for 2 or 3 in a year, because they're like, nope, I'm flying in because now I want to hear what these 4 people say, these 4 people say. And so, but you can learn more about it at powertalkfriday.com. That's where all the information is. Yeah.
People are like, what's LuAnn doing? We're following her from Jersey to Nebraska. Maybe she might come to Oklahoma. We don't know. We don't care. We want to be where she is and where her experts are being brought to, right? No,
that's
but
the
really,
hope.
So tell me lastly, and I mean, like, we're already running out of time. I feel like I could listen to you talk about this forever. Tell me about a client, someone that came to you and like where they were and where they are now.
Oh my God.
Like, I'm sure you've got a favorite story in there somewhere.
Okay, so there are multiple that come to mind, but I think the one that has the most clarity in the tangible differences. Because often I will tell you, my superpower is mindset and headspace. That's my superpower.
Yeah.
Like getting you out of unstuck. Like, stop. You are not
Yeah.
that special. You are insanely special in lots of ways. But being the one who can't do that, that's not a specialty. Stop it. You can do it. We can all do this. Like, I'm very straight talk, very blah, blah, blah. Right. So the thing is, but this one coaching client, I mean, we're great friends to this day. Her name is Peggy. She came to me in 2019 and 2020, because it was the year that COVID started. And
Ah.
she, on my podcast, I say often that if you don't have documented process and systems, like if you have process and systems, but they're not documented, I use the phrase, you have a you do not have a business.
That's
Because
right.
it's all in your head.
It's all here.
Yeah, like, well,
Oh,
good for you,
yes.
sweetie. That's awesome.
Right.
But nobody else knows what to do if you're not in the room, right?
Right.
I think
That's
I
right.
heard
You're
you
going to
say that
step
on
off
your
the
show.
curb and get hit by a bus. And
Cancel, cancel,
like,
but
your
yes.
whole business is gone. Right.
Exactly.
That's right.
Right. And so Peggy called me for the discovery call for the chairman of the board. And she said, I've been listening to you for like 4 or 5 years now. I have to say, I love everything you do. I get it. She said, but every time you would say, if your processes aren't documented, you have a you and not a business. She goes, I would like bristle at it a little bit. And I'd be like, yeah, well, that I don't believe that so much. And she said, but I now find myself, I think she was 60 when I met her, and 59, whatever it was. And she said, I now find myself looking forward to what will I do with this business in 3 to 5 years? And she said, and it's the first time I heard what you said. Like,
Yeah.
oh, I have a you. I can't, what am I going to sell? The things in my head.
Right.
And so she said, so I would like to retire in 3 to 5 years. And I would like to, after having this business for 20 years, I would like to be able to sell it. She said, do you think you can help me prepare me and my business for that? And I was like, that is a
You're like,
layup.
yeah,
That
I
is a
can.
layup for me. I'm like,
Right. You're like,
some things are harder. I'm like, I got you. Right. And
That's right.
we took her, she ended up coaching with me for 2 years. We took her from herself. She owns a custom window treatment workroom. So she sews, she fabricates high-end couture soft window furnishings. So
Wow.
not like, assembly line draperies, but high-end hand sewn
Yeah.
furnishing, window draperies and so forth. And we took her from one part-time seamstress and herself and a subcontractor installer to, I would have to say at this point, let's say by the time I was done coaching with her, I think she had three or four part-time seamstresses, because that's what worked.
Wow.
It's hard to find seamstresses. So we've
Yeah.
like, okay, we got her that wants to do 20. We've got her, but working out the
Yeah.
schedule, a workroom manager, a window treatment salesperson, which she was. Her husband has since joined the business and does a lot of the scheduling and so forth. Peggy is the money person. She maintains her books. She does have a bookkeeper to do the beginning part of it, I believe. And all of her systems are documented. And the crazy
Wow.
thing is she went from being like a $500,000 company to approaching $1 million in gross revenue. And
Wow.
she said to me about a year ago, I guess as we were finishing up the coaching, we still remain friends, but when we were finishing up the coaching, she said to me, she goes, I don't really need to sell it now. And I said, I know, because the best prepared business for selling is a business that you can step out of and it still runs. And I said,
That's right.
you are now replaceable in every aspect of this business. You are literally managing it. And anybody
Yeah.
with a brain can come in and manage it, because you have put the professionals into place in the specialty areas that require professionals, and you have documented what they do. And so now she's like loving life, and she's like, yep, I
That's
think
so
I'll go another
good.
5 or 8 years,
That's
So,
the queen moment right there, right? Like, she's like, I mean, imagine thinking like, oh, I just want to sell this business because I'm so exhausted with it and I'm looking forward to retirement. And then fixing it all to you're like, hey, wait a minute. I kind of love what I'm
yeah.
doing now. This is
Yeah,
kind of
she
easy
always
now.
had, and
Yeah.
that's what I love and admired about Peggy. always had a good handle on her profitability, her margins, the process, but without it being documented. Then it meant that if she was the only person that knew how to sew a particular specialty drapery, then that meant she had to do it. But when
Yeah.
she took the painstaking process of documenting it, and what I always teach all my chairman of the boards that I work with is, you're not necessarily going to be the one to actually do the documenting. You're going to train somebody how you want it done. They're going to learn it, and then they're going to document it for you. And then you're going to go revise and review it and tweak it. But like,
That's right.
we're not sitting around there like, manual one Roman shades. Like, stop. You know what I'm saying?
That's right. That's right. Getting
Yes.
someone else, just getting that outside party to take a look at what you're doing and really just helping you to see the trees for the forest you're standing
Yes.
in can be so helpful.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
I'm
Yeah.
sure Peggy is beyond grateful for
Yeah.
that.
She went on to, after she with the other company that my husband and I own together is called Exciting Windows, and that is a company where we mentor and coach window treatment professionals. Like,
Mm,
not like the podcast is free, right? But this is the company
right.
that we own that you can join as a monthly membership, and we work with you. We have group coaching every week and two conferences a year. And after she did the 2 years with me, she joined Exciting Windows, and now she gets ongoing support from our entire window treatment community. And she's such a smart lady, a smart businesswoman. She really is. It was a joy to work with her.
Smart for hiring LuAnn. That's for sure. And she got a friend out of the
That's
deal.
it. That's it.
That's
That's it.
it. I
Yeah.
love it. Well, LuAnn, thank you so much for being my guest. Tell the guests where they, or the listeners rather, where they can find you if they are interested in any of the many myriad of things you do. What's the best place to connect with you?
So LuAnnNigara.com is the website that houses all things a well-designed business and window treatments for profit. So within that, you can click to Power Talk Friday if that's what you're interested in, or the chairman of the board, or I also do professional speaking for organizations and stuff like that. And everything, it's all there. If your window treatment professional and Exciting Windows is teasing you, that's excitingwindows.biz, and you can learn
Okay.
about that business over there.
I love it. So LuAnnNigara.com. Go over, learn everything you can about her, connect with her in some way, especially if you are a window treatment, interior designer, window company. She can get you set on the right tracks.
That's it. Thank you
Thank you,
so much.
LuAnn.
Thank you. This was
Thank
so
you.
much fun.
Thanks for being a queen that leads.
The Queen's Lead podcast is recorded worldwide and produced by the kick-ass media team at the Height Digital home base in Nicaragua. Until our next episode, stay real, Queens, and go lead. Remember to tap that follow and leave your review. For freebies and more real, inspiring content you love, go to amysingleton.net and connect with Amy on her socials at @TheRealAmySingleton.
One more thing. This is the legal language, what my lawyer wrote and what I need to read to you. This podcast is presented for educational and entertainment purposes only. I am Amy Singleton, and I'm just your friend. Although I may speak to many on this show, I am not a psychotherapist, a business coach, a doctor, a CPA, a lawyer, or probably anyone who should be giving you professional advice. This podcast is not a substitute for a relationship with your doctor, coach, or any other licensed professional. Got it? Good. Now go be a queen and follow me at The Real Amy Singleton.